right, thrill seekers. Yesterday I put up what am I calling the Monday Moldy Oldie video about Zen advice for the holidays. I forgot that I was putting up Monday Moldy Oldie videos and remembered it about 4 in the afternoon, and it took me a while, and it didn't go up until about 5 or 5:30 Pacific time yesterday, which is really late. So if you missed it, you can go and you can find it, and it's on this video channel somewhere. It's called Zen Advice for the Holidays, or Zen Holiday Advice. That's it. So that's that, and I put up a new article yesterday on my blog, which is hardcorezen.info, and it's called "The Universe is Born and Dies with Us," or with you. I'm not sure. Anyway, I had to go look it up, but the original title was, I don't know. Anyway, go look at hardcorezen.info. There's a new article. That's the point. And also yesterday, I recorded a new episode of my podcast, and that will go up on Friday. But my previous episode of my podcast, which is my ongoing podcast on Dogen's essay, Buddhas Alone Together with Buddhas, that went up on Fridays. So look for it on, I always find it on Spotify. Apparently it's on all the platforms, as the kids call them, where you can get podcasts, and it's called the Hardcore Zen Podcast. Okay, good enough. So, I wanted to talk to you about weird coincidences. And I really don't have a nice Zen foundation for what I want to say today, but I think it's sort of interesting, and it's been interesting in my own practice. So let me just kind of just tell you about it and see where we go. I think it was on Friday. I was looking at eBay. This is something I do kind of habitually. It's probably a bad habit. I've got a few things I like to search on eBay, like used bass guitars. Haven't bought one in years. Or what else? The Ghoul, my favorite horror host from Cleveland. I look him up on eBay, and every once in a while somebody's selling some Ghoul memorabilia. Those kind of things I look up. One of the things I hardly ever look up is myself. Every once in a while I get curious, like, I don't know, once a year or so I get curious and look myself up and see if anybody's selling, like, signed copies of my books, and seeing if, like, but they aren't. I always wonder if my signed copies of my books fetch anything on eBay, but I haven't seen any of them up there. And the other thing I look up very rarely is Dementia 13. That's the band that I had between 1984 and 1990. We released, I think, 5 albums between 1984, or maybe it was 1985 and 1990, on the label Midnight Records. And occasionally I look it up, but very rarely. I think the last time I looked up Dementia 13 on eBay was probably 2 years ago. But Friday, I just got curious. Well, is there anybody got Dementia 13? And lo and behold, somebody on there was, a place called 10 Foot Tall Records was selling, I think, 5 different cassette tapes that they had bought in an auction from, the auction was from the estate of J.D. Martignon, the guy who founded Midnight Records, the guy who signed me to his label and put out those 5 albums. He passed away maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think, maybe a little bit longer, I'm not sure. He passed away, and some of his stuff must have ended up in auction, and this record store got a hold of these cassette tapes, and they're demos that I sent to Midnight Records. I'm looking at them on my phone, but I'm going to put them up on screen so you can see. The most fascinating one to me is this one that's dated 1987. It just says New Dementia 13 Demos 1987 on the label. And it's got a bunch of song titles on there that I do not remember. They're obviously they're songs written by me. I wrote all of the Dementia 13 songs, but I don't know what they are. One is called Love Once More. Don't remember that. She's Something Else. I don't remember writing a song like that. Rain on Me, I think I kind of remember, but I haven't heard it since probably 1987, but don't remember what that sounded like, but I kind of remember the title. Planet Zen? There you go. I do not I vaguely remember having written a song with the title Planet Zen, but I don't know what it sounded like. And you can look, it looks like JD has written no next to it, so it must not have been very good. Um, Babe, I'm Already Gone. I do remember that one. It was sort of a Bob Dylan ish thing I did. Babe, I'm already gone. Blood on Satan's Claw, I do remember. It was sort of a Cramps-ish song. Sign My Little Paper, that one I remember writing, and it was about my experience auditioning for the New Monkeys, which I talked about on this video channel. I actually auditioned for this project called The New Monkeys, and I didn't get in, but I got pretty close. And I wrote that song about that experience. Jet Airliner, I do remember. It was about it was about being on a layover in the St. Louis airport on my way to Dallas. My dad lived in the Dallas suburbs at the time. My parents, both of them. My mom was still alive then. And I wrote a song about encountering some Hare Krishnas and talking to them at the St. Louis airport. And that's a song called Jet Airliner. The Thousand Petaled Lotus, I do remember, but I don't have a copy of it. Bikini Dance? What the hell is that? No idea. And then there's another one labeled Dementia Demos 1990. And I do remember most of these songs, except I don't remember Girl in a Soap Bubble Girl or Peace and Plenty. Um, People Get Weird, I don't remember that one. So it's really interesting to find these, and I contacted the seller, and he's kindly letting me buy the tapes off him for the cost that he paid for them at auction. So he's not even charging me, which is real nice. Of shout out to 10 Foot Tall Records, and I decided to buy a couple of things off his Discogs site just because I was kind of happy that he did that for me. But the point of this is not to reminisce nostalgic with you, which I think I did a little bit too much of, but to talk about this idea, I was going to say problem, of coincidences. Coincidences are one of the reasons I got into Zen. And I've mentioned this, I think, on this video channel before, but I'll mention it again. From my childhood, I had noticed a lot of things happened that really shouldn't have happened. Like, not shouldn't have happened is probably the wrong way to say it, but things that didn't make any logical sense. Like, why would I just happen to search eBay for Dementia 13 when I hadn't done that in 2 years, probably, maybe longer than 2 years? And just at the moment that somebody had put cassette tapes of mine on eBay. That doesn't. There's no sort of logic in the sort of materialistic view of the world that we've all grown up with that would explain that. There were a lot of other things. I've mentioned. I had a dream as a child, or not really a dream, sort of an idea as a child of walking into a room that had a low slanted ceiling, and hanging from the low slanted ceiling were all these costumes used in Japanese monster movies. You know, the rubberized monster costumes. And years later, when I went to my job interview with Tsuburaya Productions, one of the things the Noboru Tsuburaya, then president of the company, said to me at the end of the interview is, "Do you want to go see the Monster Warehouse?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to see the Monster Warehouse." And he said, "Okay, come back here." And we went upstairs, and there was exactly that room that I had pictured in my mind as a child. I had no idea such a room existed, but there it was. And a lot of the things that happened around me going to Japan, and around my meetings with my teachers, with Tim McCarthy. I just so happened to be a student at Kent State looking for something in the realm of Eastern philosophy in the first year that Tim had moved back from. I think he was in Taos, New Mexico for a long time, and he just moved back to Ohio. It was because he's from Ohio. I think he's from Michigan maybe, and then lived in Ohio. But anyway, he has roots in Ohio, and there he was teaching Zen. So The upshot of all this is that I haven't read Jung on his theory of synchronicity, except in very vague outlines. But I believe in it, even though I haven't read Jung's theory on it. I believe in synchronicity and coincidences, and to me, they've always been evidence that this world, that the explanation that I learned for what this world was and who I was living in it from early childhood, and that I believed, and that most people I think still believe, it was wrong. It was just wrong. The idea that we are independent units, forever separated from each other in these little, bags we call bodies, and that we live on, we're meat machines living on a planet that's a bunch of rocks, and what we are made of is tiny little rocks orbiting each other. That's one of the explanations I saw about atoms. One of the ways to can consider atoms and molecules and things like that is little tiny rocks, and that's what we're just made of, little tiny rocks. And there's no connection between us at all, except if we talk to each other, and then we can establish a connection, so on and so forth. I don't believe that, and I stopped believing that when I was a little kid, and I still don't believe it. But one of the my ins to Zen was knowing that the world was not what people said it was. And that led me to try to find out if there was anybody out there who had a better explanation. And first I looked to religions, because I thought, okay, fine. And the major religion, of course, where I grew up, both in Wadsworth, Ohio, and in Nairobi, Kenya, was Christianity. People, when the Obama administration was going strong, there was a big right wing criticism that Obama must be a Muslim because his father was from Kenya, a Muslim country. Kenya is not a Muslim country. There are probably more Muslims. I'm sure there are more Muslims in Kenya than there are in the U.S. per capita. But it is an overwhelmingly Christian country, really, really pretty strongly Christian. So I looked to Christianity to find an answer, because I thought, well, they might have a different answer from this materialistic sort of paradigm. I wouldn't have known that word that I grew up with, and they didn't. And I thought maybe the Hindus might have it, and I tried to look into that, but I couldn't find that. And then I found the Buddhists, and I found Zen, and that proved to be my inroad into a different sort of explanation for what the world is. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of coincidences, though, is something my teacher said to me. Nishijima Roshi said this to me. I was talking to him about things that I found were mystical, and I don't remember exactly the conversation, but I was probably talking to him about things kind of along the lines of what I'm talking about in this video: weird coincidences and connections and things. And I was talking about them in terms of things being mystical. And Nishijima Roshi said to me, at first he didn't like the term mystical. He said there's nothing mystical, and he was really kind of pushing against that. But I decided to kind of see where this went, and I told him a few other things, and he said, okay, then it is sometimes mystical, but it is never strange. And that, I think, is something that we should pay attention to, because one of the problems with noticing stuff like this, these weird coincidences and things, is that we may have a tendency to be seduced by the strangeness of them, to go, oh, that's strange, and then we want to get into it because it's strange. And you end up becoming a professional psychic or faith healer or something like that. I don't know if you do that, but you can go too far into the strangeness of it and the specialness of it, and trying to establish yourself as something special because you've had these sorts of experiences and things. But I think the fact of the matter is we all have these sort of experiences, but most of us downplay them. We're taught to downplay them. We're told that they're unimportant, that they're imaginary, that they're useless, and that we shouldn't pay any attention to them. I find that it is useful in my life to pay attention to them. But I've also found, and for whatever my advice is worth, is that I am lousy at interpreting these sort of things. So I will encounter things that I know are kind of signs because something sits in my mind for a long time that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be there, and I'll try to figure out what it is, and it usually what are you barking at, Ziggy? I usually can't figure out what it is until oh he's once again barking at my father-in-law. Um, I can't figure it out until maybe it smacks me in the face what it is. So this is why I'm kind of skeptical of psychics and things, psychic readers and things like that, because it's not that I don't, it's not that I think they couldn't have some kind of insight. You know, I think they might have some kind of insight, but they're probably only slightly better than I am at interpreting what that insight means. So, you know, there you go. So I found that it's not so helpful to kind of try to figure it out. I just kind of let them be and notice them and know they're there, and see what comes up. So there you go. That's it. I don't know. I don't know if that was a good video or not good video, but I've got some plans for the next couple of videos this week. So if you didn't like this one, watch tomorrow, and you might like that one. Anyway, if you want to donate to me, send me more money to buy my own tapes from Discogs. That's not true. I usually spend your money on eating and feeding the dog. You can go to the URL you're seeing on the screen, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find my PayPal and Patreon accounts, links to those, and that is my almost my sole means of making money. I got one royalty check from, what was it, New World Library yesterday, and it wasn't much, but, you know, I got something. So most of my living income comes from your donations, and I really appreciate your support. So we will see you next time. Also, you don't have to donate if you don't want to donate, because this is offered for free. Okay, we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bizzles. You hoping for? Is she in there? If you bark, she might give you something. Well, good luck, Ziggy.